All right, so thank you for tuning in and chomping at the bit. I'm Kyle Letters, of course. Now, it's been a while since I've come before you with a new episode. But if you remember, I have the show that I do Tuesdays over on Sports Empire Network. So, once again, every Tuesday, make sure you guys go over Facebook Live or over on YouTube. We start 7 p.m. every Tuesday, and we go about an hour and a half or so. But, so usually don't do shows Tuesdays, and then had some other stuff that came up during the week. But I think this might be the first episode since the football season started, and definitely proud to be able to do some more NFL content as well, because the NFL season has gotten off to a great start. I didn't get to do my pick episode last week, but I will tell you I went 7-9, so I didn't have the greatest week. But this episode, I'll do quick recap of week one. I'm not going to go through every game because, that's probably been done to death by now, and you've probably heard every angle of every game so far. So I'll probably just do something like 3 takeaways I had from last week, and then look at week 2, give you my picks, quick analysis for each game, and then finish it up with some more Sports Empire Network news and I guess an update on where this show is going, hopefully in the near future. So definitely stay tuned for all that. But like I said, football's back, so let's go ahead and get started with week 2. Well, no, sorry. Quick look at week 1. So week 1 saw a lot of great games. I watched quite a few. It was bouncing back and forth between some of the 1 o'clock games and then the 4 p.m. window. Had great finishes all week. But my 3 biggest takeaways were the Denver game. Hackett did not make the best decision on that final second, 65-yard field goal. But you could kind of say the way that final drive went, they were setting themselves up to fail because it seemed like they were going with a conservative approach, playing for the field goal, and right at the edge of McManus's range, because on that field goal, he had the leg for it. It was just that, slightly hooked it. So that was the first one. But I'm sure Denver will be fine, and Seattle did enough that day to get that win. Second biggest takeaway for me was the Cowboys looked inept. And, that's not the biggest story. Biggest story was Dak Prescott getting hurt, and now he's gone for, 6 to 8 weeks. In that time, by the time Prescott's ready to come back, if he does come back, the Cowboys could find themselves out of contention already, because they went into that game basically without a backup quarterback. And now, with this week coming up, we don't know. I think it's going to be Cooper Rush, I guess. And then Will Grier will be his backup, something like that. But that's going to be a lot to ask those guys who, it's one thing if they get a lot of time in the preseason or whatever, fine. But now after the performance they had last week and the pressure that Cowboys fans will put on the team for them to perform better, now you're bringing in a backup quarterback in an environment where they're going up against the Bengals, who had their own issues last week. It could get ugly for the Cowboys the next couple of weeks. And then third takeaway was, I guess I would go with kickers. Kickers were a major story in week 1. I already talked about McManus with the missed field goal in Denver. We had the kicking situation in that Bengals-Steelers game where What's his name for? What was it? McPherson for the Bengals missed a couple, and the Steelers kicker, can't remember his name right now, but he missed a late kick, and that game almost ended in a tie. We had the Colts-Texans game end in a tie, and Colts released Blankenship. If you remember when he came out of college, he was seen as one of the best kickers in the country, and now just a few years later, he's losing his job after a bad performance in a game. So, like I said, kicking was a major storyline in week 1. But we'll see how well they do come week 2. So that's my quick rundown of week 1. 3 biggest takeaways. I mean, there's so much, other stuff we could talk about. Falcons losing a late lead once again, allowing the Saints to come back and get a win there. But let's focus on the main point of this episode, week 2. So I've made my picks for week 2. I didn't get to do the Thursday night pick. I will tell you, I had the Chiefs minus 4 points. And if you remember in that game, the Chargers got a backdoor cover late. Well, made it 27-24, so I ended up losing that one. So I'm 0-1 so far this week, which would push my overall record to 7-10. But I think I have some real winners throughout the rest of the picks. So let's go ahead and get into those right now. I'm going to start Patriots Steelers. Steelers coming off that big win over the Bengals in overtime. Patriots coming off that struggle down in Miami, losing 20-7. So for this one, I know Najee Harris is going to be back for the Steelers. That's going to be key for them because there's still some uncertainty with the quarterback position between Trubisky and whether or not Pickett should start if he's ready, and when should Tomlin pull the trigger on that. Other side, Mac Jones had a back injury coming out of the Miami game. He went through X-rays and everything. He's fine. He did miss, I think, the other day. Actually, it might have been Thursday's practice with an illness, but he's back. I think he was back Friday, so that's fine. I'm expecting a bounce-back game for the Patriots here. I think for the first couple of weeks, the Patriots offense is going to be a slow build to what they could be. I understand Patricia, Joe Judge, and all that's a big story, but I think the Patriots can get past the bad taste of week 1 in this one. Steelers, we know, have a pretty good defensive line, so the onus is going to be on the Patriots offensive line to keep Mac Jones upright, but I'm going to take the Patriots minus 2.5 in this one because, like I said, I think the Patriots bounce back and win a close one here against the Steelers. Second game, Rams-Falcons. I mean, let's be honest. The Rams are going to come into this one with hurt feelings from their week 1 performance where they got blown out by the Bills. Stafford and that offense has to get it clicking. They only scored 10 points against a Buffalo team that has a much better defense than the Falcons do. Falcons have their own issues offensively. I think if you look at that Falcons-Saints game that I previously talked about, basically how the Falcons really got their offense going was that the Saints were pursuing too far up the field and Mariota would roll out a little bit to extend the play and then he'd find an open guy. So if the Rams with Donald in the middle there and that defense, if they can keep Mariota in the pocket, force him to make plays from the pocket, they'll be fine. They'll probably be fine anyway because they are the more talented team. Now, 10 is a big number to post, but I'll take the Rams here minus the 10. I should feel comfortable about it. Should be about a 2-score win for the Rams. So give me the Rams minus 10. Next game is my first underdog pick for the week. I'm actually going to take the Jets plus 6.5 against the Browns. And I think the saving grace for the Jets will be their defense. Their defense it's not too bad. Now the Browns, we know, without Deshaun Watson, they're going with Jacoby Brissett. And Jacoby Brissett's going to play more of a conservative passing game, because he's not the fastest guy, doesn't have the biggest arm, has kind of a slow release. So he's fine dumping underneath to, Kareem Hunt out of the backfield. Even Nick Chubb sometimes. I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing for the Browns is, play through that rushing attack, take the pressure off Jacoby Brissett, hopefully get an early lead, and that way Brissett can pick his spots. For the Jets, with their defense, they're going to have to create a couple of turnovers at least to give themselves a chance to win this game. And it looks like it's another Joe Flacco game, so we know Flacco isn't the youngest guy anymore. He's not the same quarterback he was when he was at the height of his career with Baltimore. But, I mean, if you give Flacco time and, give him lanes to throw from, he can make plays. I will give him that. I just think the Jets keep this one closer than the 6.5, so I'm taking the Jets to cover plus 6.5. All right, next game we have the Commanders and the Lions. This one's an interesting one. I went back and forth with it. Ultimately, I landed on taking the Commanders +1 because, as I've said with the Lions, because we did talk about the Lions on the Sports Empire Network show on Tuesday, but if there's anything you can say about the Lions, yeah, they may not win a lot of games this season. They may not be a playoff team or whatever. Dan Campbell will have them play with maximum effort, and I think because of that, your lower level teams, the Lions will have a chance to beat them. Your middle of the road, they'll keep it very close. And even your top teams, if the top teams aren't playing at their top level, I think the Lions could make it very interesting for them. Now, if you're going to look at the Commanders, you're not going to call them top tier. I don't even know if you could go middle of the road. They're probably, as of right now, towards the bottom in the league. So I think the Lions will keep this very close. I mean, I was kind of surprised they're going to be the favorite in this one. I think it's like the first game that they were a favorite in a couple of years. But I feel like if it's a close game late, Wentz is good enough to get you like a drive where you see the old Wentz. And, well, actually, we saw a little bit more of it in week 1. But I think right now, maybe if this game was a little bit later in the season, I probably would have gone with the Lions in this one. But I'll take the Commanders +1. I just think they have a little bit more right now. And the Lions are still building. So, give me the Commanders. All right, next game. Bucks, Saints. This is an interesting one because since Brady's been with Tampa Bay, I don't think he's beaten the Saints in the regular season. His one win against the Saints was in the playoffs, which, I mean, that's where it matters most. But I don't know if this Saints team is the same as those previous teams that gave him so much trouble. Now, the overarching story to the Bucs season is, is Brady mentally preparing for retirement? Because we saw during the offseason, him stepping away and all the reports, about what's going on in his home life or whatever. I don't think it's going to affect Tom Brady on the field, but I do think that, because of that, he's going to treat this as probably his final year. And we all know that if it is Tom Brady's final year, he's going to want to go out on top, and that means Super Bowl championship. So I think it'd be the perfect time for him to get over the winless streak of the regular season against the Saints. Pick up a win here. Saints, yes, they got the win last week, but they didn't play all that well. They struggled against that Falcons defense in the first half and then figured it out in the second half. Bucks defense is better than the Falcons defense. Give me the Bucks. Yeah, Bucks defense is better than the Falcons defense. Yeah, so Bucks minus the 2.5. I'll take them in this matchup. All right, next ones have the Panthers, Giants. I'm going with the Panthers +2 here, another underdog pick. I thought it was crazy to see the Giants as a favorite, but for me with the Panthers, as I've said several times, I'm not as down on Baker Mayfield as a lot of people are. I think Baker Mayfield is a talented quarterback. You know, he might have been a little bit overhyped coming into the league, but I feel like the competitiveness of Baker Mayfield will carry him to have a decent NFL career. At least that's what I think. I mean, I know the Giants, won last week against a Titans team that looked pretty bad. And they went for that gutsy call at the goal line to go for 2 to get the win, which I fully supported, because I think if you're an underdog and you're put in a situation where you can get a win, why not, take a chance? And they did, and they won. So I would take Mayfield over Daniel Jones in this quarterback matchup. And we know quarterbacks are so important in the NFL. So because of that, I'm going to take the Panthers +2 over the Giants in this one. Next one, we have the Colts, Jaguars. This is another one that could be interesting because we saw the Colts tie the Texans last week. And we'll have to see what that does for them this week. But Colts are the more talented team in this matchup easily. Matt Ryan's an established MVP caliber quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is still up and coming, still making some mistakes that he's working his way through, so he'll be better for it in the future. But for right now, the Colts are built to win now, whereas the Jaguars are still rebuilding and are playing the long game. So I'm expecting a bounce back game for the Colts here. I think, yes, like I said, Matt Ryan, I think, has a good game in this one. I think Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, the backfield, they have a good one. So I'll take the Colts minus the 3. Like I said, Jaguars aren't ready for winning football necessarily yet, and the Colts need to bounce back in a big way. Next up, we have the Ravens, Dolphins. I'm taking the Ravens minus the 3.5. Yes, the Dolphins got the win last week, and I feel like people are kind of blowing it a little bit out of proportion because they won 20-7. Their offense only scored 13 points on the Patriots defense. And, Patriots had that controversial interception in the end zone where it looked like Devontae Parker was being held. So if they call that, get the ball at the 1, if they score, that game could have been completely different. Not to take anything away from Miami because they did get the win, so you got to give them credit for that. But I think the Ravens coming in, I would say like J.K. Dobbins should be healthy. We'll have to see how he looks. I don't expect him to hit the ground running after his injury. But I will say that Baltimore, I think, is the better team. The Dolphins could be maybe the better team down the line. Maybe even later this year. You never know. But for a week 2 matchup, I like the Ravens in this one more. Minus the 3.5. Lamar Jackson his numbers were okay last week. So he's going to need to, string together some great performances if he's going to get that big deal at the end of the year. So look for him to try to come out and maybe throw a couple touchdown passes, maybe have a score on the ground. We'll see. Yeah, I think there's points to be had on the Dolphins defense. Dolphins defense it's good, but yeah, plays can be made on them. And I'd like to see if, Jackson can make more plays with his arm. Because I already know what he is as a scrambling quarterback, making plays with his legs. But if he could, make his arm as much as dangerous as his legs are, he could be a generational talent for sure. Which he already kind of is, but you know what I'm saying. All right, next game. Niners, Seahawks. Be honest with you, I went back and forth on this game as well. Part of me wanted to take the Seahawks plus 9.5. But I ultimately went with the 49ers minus 9.5. I just think week one, Seahawks going against Denver with Russell Wilson going back to Seattle. I think that was their Super Bowl for the year. Now they can kind of settle back into what I think they are. And what I think they are is a team that's going to struggle to win games this season. Same thing with the Niners. Yeah, they lost to the Bears, but weather played a big part in it. I think for the first game for Trey Lance, they were a bit conservative with him. I believe in this matchup, you'll see the reins taken, or I guess loosened a little bit more, and maybe they allow Lance a little bit more room to make plays. You still have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, you know the pieces on San Francisco. So they should bounce back in this one, get a win. Like I said, 9.5 is a big number, but I could see this being a 10 to 13 point win for the Niners. So give me the Niners minus the 9.5. Let's see what's next. Okay, so next, Bengals Cowboys. I mentioned it earlier in this episode. Cowboys don't have Dak Prescott. The offense didn't look great with him last week. So now that he's gone and we have an unproven backup quarterback going against a Bengals team that's going to be hungry for a win, not much to say about this one. Bengals have way more talent. They should get the win. The only thing that may cost them is that they look past the Cowboys because of the Prescott injury. But I don't think the Bengals have that liberty. So I expect them to be focused for this one and look to make a statement. Give me the Bengals minus 7. And I have no doubts about it. Next, go Broncos, Texans. Broncos are a 10-point favorite in this one. It's another game with a high number. The Texans got a tie last week against the Colts, like I said. Basically a win for them. But Denver's coming in off of the loss to Seattle. Russell Wilson in that offense is going to want to make plays. Show the potential of that offense because the offense has a lot of pieces on it. I would like to see maybe Cortland Sutton get more involved into the play calling and see him a little bit more early on in the game. It seemed like it took a while before he and Russell Wilson got on the same page against Seattle. But I was just saying, I would expect to see a good number of targets for Cortland Sutton. Just have a hunch. Maybe because he's on my fantasy team. I'm not going to say that's why I'm saying it, but I'm just putting it out there. I have him on my fantasy team, so yeah. But yeah, give me the Broncos minus 10. Next up, Cardinals, Raiders. For the Cardinals, we know it's been a crazy few days because, the Cardinals did not show out at all against the Chiefs in week 1. And then we're seeing a lot of talk about Kyler Murray, whether it can happen with him in Arizona. Was Arizona wrong for putting him and Kingsbury together? How good of a coach is Kingsbury after all of, I guess the maneuvering for Arizona to get him and Kyler Murray together? There's some real questions about that partnership and whether they can coexist and produce a winning product on the field. The Raiders, in that AFC West division, they can't really throw too many games away. And this is an opportunity to go up against a team in Arizona that should be good, but might be lacking some confidence right now and take advantage of it. So I'm going to take the Raiders minus the 5.5 in that game. Would I be shocked if the Cardinals won it? no. But for my picks, I'm going Raiders minus 5.5. All right, Packers Bears. Two teams that still have a lot of questions about. Packers, is their offense as bad as it looked against Minnesota? Or maybe is Minnesota just better than a lot of people think they are? And that's why the Packers struggled so much. You know, did the Bears figure out something in their win against San Francisco? Or was it just a fluke win aided by the weather? I guess from this matchup, one of those questions will get answered. Because it's in Lambeau Field, I'm more inclined to think the Packers offense will look a little better. But like I said, the Packers do have serious questions. You know, one, should they really be focusing their offense on Aaron Rodgers, or should they go to maybe more of a run-heavy offense and have Rodgers kind of contribute play action-wise? That's a question you could legitimately ask about Green Bay. And like I said, for the Bears, can Justin Fields kind of improvise enough to keep the Bears in this and can their defense recreate what the Vikings did last week, which was put a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers and kind of pressure the wide receivers at the line of scrimmage, which threw off a lot of the timing on some of those quick throws Rodgers likes to make. And when those weren't there, their front seven got to Rodgers and put hits on him. So if Chicago can do that, they give themselves a chance in this game. But like I said, because it's in Lambeau Field, I'm going to go with the Packers minus the 10 in this one. I'm kind of weary about it, but that's what I'm going with. All right, it's got 2 more games left, so let's go. Bills, Titans. I mean, the Bills look like clearly the best team in the NFL against the Rams opening night. They're going against a Titans team that I think there's kind of some mixed feelings on how good this Titans team can be. I've, talked about the wonder that I have about Derrick Henry being close to 30 years old now. I think it's about 28, 29, I think. But with all of the carries he's had so far, will we see a significant slowdown in his game? The quarterback position is still a major question for Tennessee. That playoff game last year where Tannehill really struggled, kind of seems like he's still struggling to bounce back from that. The Bills are going to put a lot of pressure on Tennessee to score, and I just don't think Tennessee's built that way. It's another game with a 10-point spread. Weary of those, but I think out of all the games with spreads around 10, I probably feel the most confident in the Bills. So give me the Bills minus 10 over the Titans in this one. And finally, we have Vikings-Eagles. To be honest, this could turn into maybe the best game of the week. Maybe. But I said before the season started when I did my season preview, I am high on the Vikings this year. I'm high on Kirk Cousins. I'm high on Dalvin Cook as long as he stays healthy. Hopefully he can make it through the season healthy. If he does, the Vikings can make a lot of noise in the NFC. NFC is really top heavy. And I think the Vikings could jump into that group with not necessarily a 1 seed, but as a, division winner. Sure. I think they could win the NFC North. Why not? And for the Eagles, with Prescott down for the next 6 to 8 weeks or whatever, the Eagles need to take control of this division right now. They can't make it so that, maybe they're hovering around 500 when Prescott can return for the Cowboys and they're only like a game or 2 up on them. No, they're going to need to put some distance between these teams right now. Take hold of that division. They are the most talented team in that division, at least to me. I would like to see Jalen Hurts put together some great performances. The defense does give me some questions because they gave up 35 to the Lions. But as I said, the Lions were the most efficient red zone team in the league in week 1. Maybe that means something. Maybe it was just a one-game thing. we'll have to see. But if the Eagles play kind of that soft zone they did against the Lions, it could be a big day for Jefferson and Thielen with the Vikings. So give me the Vikings +2. So that's another underdog pick I'm taking. Yeah. And that's week 2. I think I got through those picks pretty quickly. Well, I didn't say quickly because I don't want to rush through the analysis I had, but I think I've got you all ready to go for week 2. I think I have some real winners this week. Hopefully I can maybe reverse that 7-9 from last week. Maybe go 9-7 this week. We'll have to see. I did make picks on the Big 3 podcast is the podcast that I'm on for Sports Empire Network on Tuesday nights. I made picks there. There we do, upset pick, lock of the week, and we pick the primetime games. So we didn't do that week 1. We only did upset and lock picks. So I went 1-1 there. So I'm gonna keep track of how I do on both shows. But yeah. So as I just said, mark your calendars. I mean, who actually does that anymore? That was a saying from like years ago. But setting a reminder on your phone. Tuesday night, 7 p.m., I will be on Sports Empire Network again. As one of the hosts of the Big 3 podcast. You should really join us, down in the comments and all that. It's a good show. I mean, no, it's better than good. It's a great show. Have great chemistry with the other guys on the show. And trust me, the time flies by because we have so much fun with it. A lot of takes. We do predictions, like I said. It's just good quality content. So make sure you do that, whether it's on the Facebook page, at Sports Empire Network, or the YouTube channel. Like I said, live show. So, on this one, you're kind of hearing me. Over there, you can actually see my face and hear me. But and once again, I guess the update for this show is I will at some point do a video element to this podcast because of that opportunity on Tuesday nights. I've been kind of working out the, I guess, logistics of doing the video portion of the podcast. So it will be coming to this one eventually. I just don't know when. So what you'll have to do is like, subscribe, and follow me wherever you are listening to this one. That way, get notification when I drop an episode. And who knows, one episode you may hear me saying that, it is, I guess, live on YouTube. Or I probably won't do a live one here. I don't know. We'll just see. But that's something to look forward to in the future. And it's going to be the near future. I'm not going to wait too much longer to, introduce that on this show. But so yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and hopefully I gave you some winners for week 2 based on my picks. You can kind of let me know what you think down in the comment section, what picks you agree with, which ones you disagree with. And yeah, so as I always say, be safe out there. God bless. Have a great day. I'll catch you in the next episode. All right, I'm out. Remember, Tuesday night, Sports Empire Network. Check me out. All right, have a good one.